Hello, Facebook Live world. This is Julia Beecham here. I'm going to be speaking with Julia Wells. Two Julias in one day. Can you believe it? We're going to be speaking about sensuality, how it can juice up your business and juice up your stage presence. She's going to be here with me very shortly. Let's get her on here. Julia and I actually were hanging out last night at a networking event at my house, and whoops, how do I get out of this? There we go. Okay, Julia is here. Bring her on camera. Julia Wells is coming, and 5, 6 other people are here. Daniel Devine, I'm so beautiful to see you. It's been so long. So we're here to talk about sensuality when it comes to your business and your stage presence. Hello, Julia.
Hi!
Hey, hon, how you doing today?
Excellent. I'm so excited to talk about this.
It's sort of a gray, dark day here in Berkeley, so I think we need to bring some juice into this day for sure. So
Okay.
let's talk about that. Yeah. So I know Julia and I were talking actually last night about how we're bringing more juice into our businesses and just into our lives, and how sensual energy is helping us to feel healthier and more vibrant, as well as to be more abundant and prosperous. So Julia, just tell me more about what you're up to.
Yeah. I was so excited to get this message from you because we like kind of started talking about it last night, and today you messaged me. I was like, hell yeah, I want to talk more about this. Yeah, I've been like just coaching now, doing business coaching, like leadership with women. And I recently just had this like crazy download in my car. I was telling this Julia. Last night, there was just like all of a sudden it hit me, and it was like, if you help women tap into like their power, pleasure, sensuality, sexuality, and match that with like what you're doing in their business coaching stuff, like holy shit, that's how you end up on Oprah. That's what you're writing books about. Like, this is what you're doing. And I was like, but I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about this. But it was just like, go, you'll figure it out. Don't worry about how, when, what, whatever. Just show up for it. And I was like, okay.
That's a pretty fun path. It's like, just have more pleasure and everything will work out.
No, I don't want that.
Yeah, and then you told me about this amazing program that you just like said insta yes to without even really knowing much. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I signed up for Layla Martin's year-long sex, love, and relationship coach training program, and it is like intense, y'all. Like, it's 15 hours a week minimum of work. It's obviously everything sex, love, relationship. You're like healing your own stuff, practicing how you would do this with clients. And then you like pick a master. So obviously mine's gonna be like female sexuality and empowerment. So I'm going to dive even deeper. And like on our required materials, we have to buy glass dildos, a butt plug, like all these books on Tantra. Like, I feel like I'm way in over my head. I'll just be totally honest. Like, this is not my area of expertise. Like, not even a little bit. Okay. And I just dove in. Like, I made a massive investment of time and money, and I was like, well, this is what my soul said to do. So like, let's do it and see what happens. So
yeah, and let's just,
for a wild year.
Let's just talk about the way that you made that decision. I relate to that a lot. As how I relate to it is, it's a decision that comes from a yes in your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a mental yes. It's not like this makes sense and is logical and practical, right?
Makes zero sense.
It's a yes in your body, which is my experience of living from a place of pleasure. And sensuality is really, really on like a radical level, trusting the experience of my body. Would you agree with that?
100%. And it usually doesn't look like it makes sense, and that's like the even harder part, because it's like, you may not be used to tapping into your body that way, and like when you feel it, you're like, whoa, like what was that? Like every cell in your body's like, like this is what you do with your life. Here's your life purpose on a platter, and you're like, I've never experienced this before. Like, what is this? And your brain then starts doing like the crazy things brains do and tell you like, well, this doesn't make sense. How are you going to do it? Like, blah, blah, blah. What are people going to think? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And you have to come back to like your body and like that deepest form of trust in something that may not look like anything you've ever seen before, may look totally like illogical, and just like, I don't know, listen to it though. It's usually pretty cool.
I know. I've made some huge leaps in my life, and I'm a leaper. I'm a improviser leaper. I feel like I've gotten really good at trusting that. My way into that originally was through the world of yoga. And
Mm.
I'm going back all the way to when I was 18. I had some really serious medical issues that I was told I was going to live with the rest of my life. And I was like, no way. And I started doing yoga at, seriously at age 18. Like I was going 6 or 7 days a week to classes.
Yeah.
Like this has to change. And I was taking vinyasa and restorative, and I was doing meditation. It was totally, I had not done any of that before. So my mind, my body, my everything was just like, and
What is that?
I know, and I remember experiencing at that time some moments, some miracle moments where, hey Lyle, so good to see you here. Where my whole body, like my whole energy system would just go, and this pleasure would just, it was like, it was divine. Like my whole body would be in this divine pleasure. And, and I just like, I want more of this.
Yeah, taste, and that's what I like before. So it's really interesting you say that. Like you taste it and you're like, I want more of this. So leading up to this moment that I had in the car a few weeks ago, I had started a practice where every day I just started asking myself, like, what would feel pleasurable to do now? And I trusted that that was enough. Like, that was it. Even if it was like, don't open your laptop today and work, or like, take a nap in the middle of the day, or like, go get ice cream for breakfast. And I was like, I'm just going to trust, like, whatever this thing is that my body's telling me it wants that would, like, feel really good is enough. And that, like, the rest will be taken care of. And that, for me, was, like, a radical practice.
Yeah.
Of, like, listening and trusting, and like some of it was bizarre stuff that I would hear, and I'm like, well, let's just like see what happens. And so like I think that was like, I was like tasting, I was like, okay, let's see what else is there. And then it was like, whammo, like taste this, and then like, let's see if you're really listening and paying attention.
For me, my thing is I have donut moments.
Does that mean real donuts, or like do not do that?
No, don't, like donuts with whole, I have moments where there is nothing I need in the world other than a donut. And that my body is like, you must have a donut now. And like I have been in 7-Elevens and Safeways getting donuts.
You're like the crazy pregnant woman that's like, give donuts. And they're like, ma'am, we're closed. And you're like, please.
Yeah, all times of the day or night or whatever. And it's usually when I'm like emotionally raw and like processing something, and the donut and like maybe a cup of coffee, like really strong coffee. And then I'm like back in my body feeling powerful and steady from this donut. And I don't know how to explain it. I just get these cravings, and usually the donut is the perfect thing.
That makes me so happy, because it's like, there's so many things that Lyle said, like me eating ice cream right now. Yeah, like, thank you. You got ice cream. Do what feels good. Who cares if it doesn't make sense? Like, some days, you just got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guilty, if you call it, guilty pleasures of mine that's really come forward in the last few years is really good Netflix TV. I mean, TV is getting so fucking good.
It's so good. Like, they make it binge worthy, and it's like, well, of course I'm gonna do this. But like, yeah, you can go one way of like, oh, I feel guilty, I shouldn't be doing this. And then some days where I'm like, when I'm resisting, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna like fully let myself like binge it. And I may get bored after an episode instead of like fighting it. But I'm like, ooh, this, or I watched 8 episodes. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm like,
and
that's
for
good.
Yeah, for me as an actress, a trained actress, like the acting is incredible in these shows. It's actually so nourishing for me to go in and watch a show that's done so well, and I learn so much, and it's so comforting for my nervous system. And once I gave myself permission to watch Netflix TV in the middle of the day when I just got like overwhelmed, or a sales call just didn't go well, and I'm like, I need my Netflix. And
Yeah.
then there I am, and I even just a half an hour, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. Yeah.
And I, when you don't fight it, you just like give into it, you like come out on the other side a lot faster. It's like soothing, right? Like if you like leave a baby crying, probably it's just gonna like cry forever. I don't know. I don't have one of those things.
I don't have one of those things yet. Yeah. Well,
But like, I would think if you like soothe it, like, and you give into it, like, that's
yeah,
what
it
it
is
is.
a self-soothing kind of process. The donuts
Yeah,
are definitely that too. They're a self-soothing choice, and
yeah,
maybe this is actually what we're getting to with this pleasure practice. It's actually like a parenting ourselves. You know, there's always ways that we didn't quite get what we needed growing up. No parent is perfect, uh,
yeah.
and I know that as I'm getting older, and especially through having my own business, like I navigate my own needs, my own desires so intimately on a daily basis to show up for my business that I'm parenting myself. Like I'm taking care of every need as it arises.
Yeah, and constantly checking in with yourself and being able to say, like, what do I need? Like, is it a donut? Is it sleep? Do I need to work? Like, would it feel good to do these things? Like, whatever it is. And like, but yeah, that constant checking in with yourself is,
Yeah, and then on the other side of things, right, is oh shit, I need to make money like now.
yeah, like yesterday now.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts about how do we navigate the reality of you know, day-to-day life, or like how do we stay in pleasure while also being productive and prosperous?
Totally. And I like this is something I work on obviously for myself and like with my clients of like, because you'll hear me say a lot, like only do things that feel good. And like sometimes it doesn't feel good to work and like you probably need to work. But it's like, how do you come back to getting into that like aligned state or like the high vibe energy? Because it's a lot easier to work when you're in that state. So like,
Totally.
start to look at like little practices and maybe it is eating the ice cream or the donut or whatever and like giving into yourself and being like, well, when I put myself in this like high vibe state, I can like write my content, I like kick ass on my sales calls, I can go do a Facebook live and like feel really magnetic. And so like for me, I try to give myself permission to do what I need to do to get in that state because I know when I'm in that like flow state,
Yeah.
I will be a lot more efficient and it will feel better and I'm usually more effective. Like I will actually make the sale or convert via a post or whatever. But I do like I struggle with figuring out like, okay, so it's really hard to get myself in that vibe, whether like something is going on in my personal life, I might be traveling, I'm thrown out of my routine and like trying to figure out like, okay, do I just power through and like push through and show up anyways? And so for me lately, what I've been exploring with is like I only show up when it feels good and like see how that goes and it actually like is going really well, but it feels really scary and really counterintuitive to everything I've ever been taught on how to run a business.
I know. Yeah. And then when I think about, you know, I'm working with people about speaking, when they have to get up on a stage, it's sort of non-negotiable. Hey, Beth Ann,
Yeah,
um, like the show must go on,
that's
right?
true.
That it's a real challenge when it comes to speaking is if you're having a shitty day or if your fears and insecurities come up or I mean I've had talks where someone my boyfriend broke up with me like the hour before. I've had food poisoning the night before a big event. Shit happens.
Yeah,
Life
you
happens.
have to. Yeah.
And actually what I find is the bigger opportunities that you take, more life starts happening and then you
Yeah.
have to deal with it. And yet the show must go on and the best speakers are the ones that are in their pleasure, that are in
Mhm.
their bodies, they're feeling good, they're flirting and seducing their audiences, right? They're bringing that to the stage. But the how to get into that state. So this is my thought about how to get into that state and deal with that is you have to have a way to warm up and I just you can't underestimate the power of a warm up. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying you're not warming up with your scripts, you're warming up this body, right?
Yeah.
Warming up this voice, you're warming up your state of being.
Mhm.
And there's so many ways to do that. Actually, last week with Julie Woke, we were talking a lot about state management. But yeah, what are your thoughts about that? You do a lot of Facebook Live stuff.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you said that, can I talk about sex on this Facebook Live?
Yeah, I would.
Why not? Hi, Mom. Um, But like it's the same like before you have sex, like you want to warm up, you want some foreplay, like you got to get into your body because if you just like bang into the main actor, like hold up, this doesn't feel good. So I love that you say that, and it's like it's looking at like how do you create warm up rituals, and like the more and more you can do that before anything. So like people say like have a morning routine, like have a morning ritual, like make it really devotional and like yummy, and you're like okay. And that's what like my morning calendar block, like for 2 hours I'm usually up between like 8 and 9, but I don't start working till 11. So I'm like, what would feel good today? And I just ask myself that, and that's
Yeah.
my warm usually of like, do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to sleep more? Do I need to read a book? Do I need to like scroll social media like mindfully? But like what is that? And then during the day if I'm like dipping too, or I'm like, okay, like what can I do right now to like warm myself up and get myself back up there, and just like asking those questions. But yeah, like especially if I'm gonna I mean right now I have the flexibility of like only doing a Facebook Live when I want to, but I do like I'll have coaching calls that are scheduled. And I'm like, okay, I need to like raise my vibration. Like, what are we gonna do right now? So just practicing like breathing, doing a visualization of like how I'm gonna feel on the other side of it, like dropping into my body. I like play a lot of music and dance. So I'm like out of my head and in my body. Yeah. And I'm like warmed up and like ready to go.
Yeah.
But your workshop, are you doing a warm up workshop? What's the one in January?
Yeah, the workshop I'm doing in January, I will teach some elements of a speaker's warm-up routine. And I'll be teaching some of the physical theater training stuff that I did. Because what I was just about to say is that, my actor training is 95% warm-up training. Like you're mostly learning how to warm up your skills and your instruments, because your body, your voice, your mind are all this integrated instrument as a presenter.
Yeah.
Performer. And so most of what we were doing is warming up. That's why it's called training. We were just training and training and training and training. And then you're up on a stage and there's a structure or a container that you're in, and you're trusting your training, like you're just trusting that you have that energy already there. But what I see in most speakers is that they're practicing content and not doing training.
Yeah.
And in the speaking industry of like people that are training speakers too, they're training them in content and not in all this other stuff. So anyway, that's my unique perspective on, when you got to show up, you got to know how to get yourself into the right state.
Yeah.
And that's not like a Band-Aid thing that happens once when you have one big opportunity, right? That's every day, dealing with the dark moments and the excited moments and everything in between.
Yeah. It's so good that we're talking about this, because I was telling you last night that I have to do a lightning talk for the Women Catalyst event. It's like 3 minutes. So I'm like, I don't feel like I want to prepare content very structured for 3 minutes, right? And I do best when I don't plan, and I'm just like very high vibe, but I'm like, okay, what am I going to do to like get in that vibe? And there's networking beforehand, which to me is not usually like energizing activity. So I'm like so glad we're talking about this. So I'm like, oh, like what's my warm, like what can I do for myself that's gonna like feel really good? Like, can I pick a song I'm gonna play in the car right beforehand, and like, an oil or something I can like put on to smell and just like feel really good before I go up there, because like speaking in front of people makes me nervous.
Yeah, totally. All that self-care stuff is huge too. And what I heard and what you were just saying is this anticipation of your needs, the planning ahead. And it's interesting because a lot of what we're talking about is being like spontaneous and responding to your needs in the moment. But then there's also that balance of planning ahead, going slowly enough, and like anticipating needs. That's definitely something I've had to learn, because I am such an improviser. I'm like, okay, wait, I got to think this through.
Yeah, there's like that balance and a dance, and to like trust that like you can show up for all of that. Yeah, I think is really important. I know you're like really good at that, so I'm excited to keep learning from you.
Yeah, and I know we have just a few more minutes, but I wanted to touch on, it's actually a topic that I'm going to be getting on a webinar for with Jessica Hadari in a moment. Her webinar is all about sex magic to grow your business. And so let's just touch on that, because I think that's your world a little bit too. It's definitely my world of this is more of the energetic quality of sexuality, sensuality, that is just in the background that I find in my own life creates the magic of
Yep.
the right clients just falling in my lap. Like, actually, I just signed up a new client today. Like, no big deal. She's like, here's my credit card. I'm good. We're ready to start.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
please. More
Yeah, totally. So what's your experience with that?
with like sex magic, I
Yeah.
guess.
I don't know,
Like,
like with
what
magic.
is sex magic? Like, as you guys are talking
That's a
about.
great point. What is sex magic? So what I think sex magic is in a practical way, it's my self-pleasure practice that
Okay.
juices me up. Hey, Gregory Bloom. Um, that it makes me feel really good and connected to that part of myself,
Hmm.
separate from a partner or anything. It's just that pure channel. And then even during those practices, being really intentional about what I'm creating. So I have a certain amount of money I'm creating each month, a certain amount of clients that I'm drawing in, and I'm holding those intentions while I'm in that experience. Maybe not actively thinking about them, but
But perhaps
yeah.
you
So
are.
that's
I
one
do.
element of it.
Sorry, client. Yeah, I think I'm just starting to like tap into all of that, and I'm like so fascinated and like thirsty to like talk about this and learn more. But yeah, even on my own, I'm like, when I'm in my like self-pleasure, I'm like, what do I really want to manifest right now? And I like think about it and focus on it like while I'm having orgasm, because it's like there's this creative energy that comes with it. I'm like, hmm, like let's just play around with this. Or like when I started doing a jade egg practice, like you're really focusing on like what do you want
Yeah.
to manifest and like hold that energy there. And I mean, I've been doing it and it's working. And I don't know the how and
Yeah.
all that. I don't know that I need to,
Yeah.
but I'm like, there is something here. Like this is why I'm like, this is what we need to like I want to bring my voice to that conversation because it
Yeah,
works.
and there's something intangible about it. It's like it's hard to pinpoint what's happening, and so in that way, I think it can be easily discredited as like, oh, it's just coincidence. But I really think
Yeah.
that it's not, because there's been dips in my experience where like I get a little disconnected from my sexuality. Like I was really sick in the end of August, and I felt like all crunchy and like isolated. And then I started getting back into my body, doing like yoga stuff and getting back to the Jade Pleasure course and other things
Yeah.
around feeling beautiful and feeling sensual, and things, I mean, business started to flow, friends, activities, all kinds of things. It's felt like a sense of flow in life. So
Yeah.
there's
And
some,
like there is something there. And here's the thing, like even if you don't believe there is, like why wouldn't you want to like have more orgasms? And like even if it doesn't lead to more business for you, like and if it does, like win-win, guys. But like you can't really go wrong here. Like tapping into that and like it gives you another reason and like dimension to like play and explore that's not like just pleasure for the sake of an orgasm or for your partner or even for yourself, right? Like you're
yeah.
creating something like that's kind of cool to explore.
Yeah, in my
Like,
business community with Mark and Shannon, we talk about this stuff really openly. And there's lots of couples in that community, including Mark and Shannon, and they talk about all
yeah.
the time how they're like having sex and have intentions and say prayers and like energetically manifesting things through their lovemaking. And I'm just like, that's so cool.
I gotta work on like bringing a partner into it. Like
I know.
how
Well,
that conversation's gonna go. I
yeah,
don't
that's a
know.
bigger piece, but I mean, we can do it on our own for now. Um,
Yeah, why not? Like that's what's fun. Like I want to run my
yeah.
business from that place. Like oh, I have a really big goal. Like let me go have an orgasm and see if it helps me hit it. Like why not, guys?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm excited for you with this journey with Layla Martin this year, and um, yeah, I'm excited to hear about it, and I'm sure you'll be talking about it on Facebook Live more.
I will. I haven't yet. Like I actually, to my followers that are watching this, I'm sorry because I owed you a video about this and it hadn't happened. So surprise! I hope you watch this. It's gonna be. I will definitely do more. But like, yeah, it's getting real. I just Snapchatted my butt plug, or I like Instagram storied it, and I was like, this is what I'm doing. I was like, oh my god, I haven't even told people what I'm doing yet. They have like no idea why.
Oh my God. Well, you're welcome to share this video on your wall for your
Oh,
peeps.
I did.
Yeah, how often do you do Facebook Lives?
The honest answer is when I feel like it, it usually ends up being like probably twice a week.
Yeah.
I get like I love to get on them because I don't plan my content. I get on them when I'm like really high vibe. So I get off a client call or I've like just like I don't know, I'm like watching wins in my community or my clients telling me something. I'm like, oh my God, I love this, I love this. And I like, have this like uncontrollable energy. So I'm like, let me channel it into a live that may or may not make sense because I'm like buzzing, but that's
But I'm
that for me, that's
hearing
what feels
that people are getting a lot of value from your Facebook Lives. So what are the
yeah.
kind of content that we can expect from them?
So I talk a lot about how to be more of yourself and like trust that you're worthy and you're enough, and the way to cut through the noise on the in the online space, because I work with female entrepreneurs and a lot of coaches, is just to actually be yourself, because that's kind of rare and uncommon, unfortunately. So I really am just like holding space for women to step into their own power, and then I'm really looking at like the strategies of like what makes your brand and messaging you uniquely you, and then how do we leverage that through your marketing, and like strategy per se, but like making it in a really feel good feminine way. So yeah,
Nice.
like all things power, pleasure, profit. I think that's gonna
Yeah.
be the name of the program also that I'm announcing
And there's
soon.
more sensuality coming into this in the near future.
A lot more coming into it,
Uh-oh.
and you guys, it's gonna like skyrocket your business. So
All right, honey. Well, we're gonna wrap up. There's a link to the other Julia's Facebook page where she does
never
all her
know.
Facebook lives and where she has lots of updates. So check that out. And I put a link to my website here as well. There'll be info about that January 26th event, but I'll also be talking about it soon. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you before then, and have a good rest of the day. I'd love to hear your comments below about what do you think about this sex and
Yeah.
magic stuff? Is it real or is it imaginary? All right. See you next.
All
Thanks for joining me, Julia.
right. I love you. Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
This was so fun. Okay, talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.